Hey, Jay.
Hi.
Pretty hard practice for Monday morning. Or afternoon, what kind of went into what you wanted to do, and what did you feel like you accomplished today?
Yeah, I don't think that's hard. That's NHL level practice for us. We're coming off a day off. We wanted to make sure that we're feeling good heading into tomorrow, and we addressed a few things that we saw in our opening games that we think we can improve at.
I wanted to go back to something you talked about a couple of weeks ago in terms of load management when Nick Nurse was here. Do you go into games saying, like, I want to play, you have some big players that play a lot, like play them so much, and then if things kind of go not according to plan, you have to adjust? How do you kind of work?
I think that's just experience, understanding where you're at in the schedule, how many days are between games, all that kind of stuff. But yeah, that comes down to just experience.
And how much are you communicating with those guys in terms of, because you give them optionals and stuff, like what kind of goes into maybe what makes an optional practice versus maybe a requirement to have them on the...
What I think you find, and this probably happens for most NHL teams, as you get going in your season into the rhythm of your schedule, is you're either playing, it's either a game day or a practice day. And typically what happens is most teams would have optional pregame skates. And if they're coming off a day off or they needed a recovery day, they might skate on the morning of a game. So that's all just, it's having an understanding where your team's at physically, making sure you're in communication with your sports science department to understand where our athletes are at. Again, I think that just comes down to experience and being open with your communication.
Stuart Skinner played pretty well in his relief duty the other night. Do you expect him to make his first start of the season tomorrow?
Yeah, Stuart will start tomorrow night.
Brent Sutter said something pretty interesting before the game on Saturday, just said he wanted to give Vladar one start a week, and that would kind of work out to...
Daryl or Brent, did you say?
Daryl.
Daryl, okay.
Sorry if I said Brent. I just wonder if you have a similar kind of plan with Stuart. Do you want to give him one start a week? Because that would kind of give that 50 to 30 ratio.
Yeah, I think as with most things with our lineup, we want to remain flexible. So I wouldn't want to put a limit or get stuck in an ideology. I just want to, make sure that we're making good decisions when it comes to our lineup. So do I have a hard and fast number of games that I want him to play per week? No. I think there's maybe a longer term view of how we want the games to be split. But as with everything else, we say that we're light on our feet. We're gonna use our eyes. We're not just gonna get stuck into something that was decided in the summertime.
Jay, Vander Kane and a few of the other guys talk about how he feels for their better starts, they got to be more physically engaged in the game. He just felt like that wasn't there. Is that something you sense as a coach? You can see it if your guys aren't physically engaged, and do you agree that sometimes it's harder to get in the game when that's lacking?
Well, I don't think we've started anywhere near the way we wanted to start in the first two games, so that could be one of the factors. Mentally engaged is sometimes just as important as being physically engaged as well. I think the big thing that we talk about is that when you fall behind early in games, what it does is it disrupts your rhythm as a team of how the game should be played, and just allowing people to get into the game. So for us, we're aware of it, and we're looking to take a step towards improving on it tomorrow night.
One of the big areas you wanted to improve on and did last year was odd man rushes against. 11 on Saturday night, obviously well higher than you want. What do you see as some of the usual culprits that are leading to giving up so many odd man rushes?
Sometimes, now your numbers might be a little different than what a coaching staff matches or measures in terms of what a true outnumbered rush is. But I think culprits of what leads to odd-numbered rushes against, sometimes it comes down to your management of the puck in the offensive zone. Sometimes it comes down to a poor read that was made. Sometimes it comes down to not having a high forward there to support our defense, those type of things. Is it an area we can improve it? Yes, it's on the list of things that we can improve at.
Your 5-on-5 scoring, I know it's super small sample size. Isn't it the level that it's been at for years? Obviously, it'll get better.
I think in the 2 games, we've scored 8 total goals, given up 7. 7's not where we want to be. In the 5-on-5 goals, 4 certainly not where we want to be.
What do you want to see? What do you feel when your team's playing best that gets you that 5-on-5 production that maybe hasn't been there through 2 games?
Well, I don't think we've sustained enough ozone time. I think there's more substance to be had in the offensive zone. I also think that's a good form of checking, and it doesn't get enough credit for, when you possess the puck in the offensive zone and you grind a team down, what you're doing is you're not allowing them to counterattack you because they're probably spend most of their shift in their own end, which means they flip it out and then they change, and it allows you to get right back on top of them. So I think we can be a little bit more substantive in the offensive zone.
Hey, Jake, good afternoon. I want to ask you about a couple of players. First, with Skinner. Obviously, it wasn't an easy situation to be put in on Saturday. What did his performance showcase to you as a staff?
Yeah, I thought there was a maturity and a mental toughness to Stewart. I thought, he went right into the game and, he made some big saves. He made some big saves. He gave us a chance to win that game, even though it wasn't a perfect game for us. We did have some good moments as well, but he gave us a chance to get back involved and make a game of it. And I think for him, sometimes not having to think about it and just get placed in that situation, sometimes I think that's of benefit for goaltenders that might not be starting that game.
And the other one is on Yamamoto. Now, I'm not speaking on behalf of his teammates or you guys. About us. What's the most underappreciated component of his game that we don't talk about enough?
Relentlessness. I think he's someone that you don't play in the league at his size unless you have a form of relentlessness to your game. He plays inside people. He doesn't end up on the periphery. He plays inside people. He plays inside people's equipment, right in up close, keeps a lot of plays alive, does a lot of work for his line mates. He's an invaluable part of our forwards up front.
Hey, Jay.
Hi.
I just wanted to ask about the luxury of having a guy like Ryan Nugent-Hopkins in your lineup. He's doing everything. He plays every situation. He can play up and down the lineup. I think we take him a little bit for granted, all the things he does, but I just wonder if I can get a thought on having a guy like that.
Well, you might take him for granted. I certainly don't, and neither do his teammates or the rest of his coaching staff. He does a lot of things correctly. What I think about Ryan Nugent-Hopkins is that whoever he plays with, he helps make them better. And I think that's a sign of a really good teammate and a really good hockey player is when you can make other people around you better. It doesn't matter who it is. They just seem to have good games when they're alongside Ryan Nugent-Hopkins.
He said he wanted to improve his shot this year, and because he got a lot of good looks last.
Yeah.
You see that improvement early on?
Yeah, he had some good looks too. The other team's goalie made a couple saves, but I see someone who wants to have a positive impact on the team on the offensive side of things, but he doesn't do it in a way that is high risk, where he's willing to just trade chance for chance. I think he gets his chances from playing the game the right way, and as you mentioned, he plays the full 200 feet of the rink.
Thanks.
Thanks, guys.